on this edition of the Self-Publishing Show.
Being an author is about finding the aspects of the career that fit you best. And if you have a really convenient situation like I have, take advantage of it, shovel some of those responsibilities off to a team member and focus on what you need to focus on.
Publishing is changing. No more gatekeepers, no more barriers, no one standing between you and your readers. Do you want to make a living from your writing? Join indie bestseller Mark Dawson and first-time author James Blatch as they shine a light on the secrets of self-publishing success. This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome. It's the Self-Publishing Show with me, James Blatch.
And me, Elvis Presley.
Hello, Elvis. Elvis has left the building. He has left Vegas.
Elvis has left Vegas. Yes, he has.
Did we ever work out where he played? Did you say?
I think I said it was the Sands, didn't I?
The Sands, which no longer exists.
No, it's probably where we stayed. Actually, no. We stayed in the Wynn, but that was the Desert Inn. I found out. The Desert Inn was blown up, and the Wynn replaced it. I can't remember one of the Sands. It probably would have been the Bellagio or something like that. They blow them up fairly frequently.
Oh, it's the beginning of Casino, isn't it? The film.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You see them all blowing up, and that was the end of the mob era. So it's now the charlatans who run it.
The charlatans, really?
Actually, who's that group? It's the Killers, don't they live in Vegas?
It's Brandon, what's his face, Flowers. Is it Brandon Flowers? Yeah, they're certainly a Vegas band, yeah.
Well, we'll talk about a couple of things before we have today's fantastic interview with the bright, bubbly, and very talented Lucy Score and the serious and quieter Tim Score. Actually, is he Tim Score? I've said that, but I think Lucy Score's probably a pen name. Tim, anyway, the husband. I probably do know his name. I'll look it up. But Tim and Lucy are a fantastic power couple in the world of indie publishing. I'm a huge fan of both of them for what they're doing, and Lucy's a fantastic romance writer. She's going to make 2 appearances in the next few weeks on this show because we have a fantastic interview to go along with this one, which is her project with 3 other romance writers writing a billionaire female sequence, which we mentioned last week. So Lucy and Tim today in a moment. But let's talk about Vegas, baby. We went to Vegas, and it's a weird place, isn't it?
It is quite weird. Yes, it's. I didn't see too much of it. Most of the time was spent in Sam's Town, which is also a weird place. For lots of different reasons. But that was. I kind of went over the road at one point to Walmart, which was an interesting experience.
Yes. You get searched on the way in to Walmart as well as the way out.
They didn't search me, which says that's all you need to know about how we are both viewed by law enforcement.
Well, we found that we went to buy a rucksack, me and John, because you always end up with more stuff going home than you come out with, and we had to wait a long time for them to unlock the rucksacks off the. It's odd because she handed us a bag and said, "Do you want to use this for our shopping?" And it was about the same as the rucksack. She was locked up on the shelf, but I didn't quite understand. But everything is locked up in that store. Everything is locked up, apart from the ammo. There was a whole stack. There was some ammo behind glass, but there was a whole stack of shells with what looked like ammo. And I picked it up. It's really heavy. And I looked inside. It was a load of shells, rounds. And I thought, how come these are not locked up, but the rucksacks are? But anyway, so we should say why we're in Vegas. We were there for a conference called 20 Books Vegas, which is part of the 20 Books to 50K movement. It is a movement started by Michael Anderle a few years ago. It's a huge Facebook group. There's a massive crossover, I think, between people in our Facebook group and in 20 Books. And they've had several conferences around the world. And this was the biggest yet in Vegas. I think there were over 1,000. Was it 1,100, something like that,
in
attendees?
That ballpark, yeah.
Yeah, in that ballpark. And each one of them was an indie author either making money or aspiring to make money, either quit their jobs or aspiring to quit their jobs. And there were sessions on the main stage. The keynote speaker was none other
that would be me
than Mark Dawson, and lots of side events as well, as I say, with more detailed time to talk about craft or talk about marketing. And the great thing is that you can see all of this. In fact, you can watch your keynote speech, which I have to say, Mark, in the time I've known you, was the best presentation you've ever given.
Thank you very much. Yes, it felt like the best one as well. It was. I was a little bit nervous beforehand, but I had actually practiced this one a couple of times because I wanted to make sure that it was nice and polished, and also that it fit within an hour, which was something of a challenge beforehand. So I did know roughly what I was doing, and I had been gifted some fantastic material by an email I'd received a couple of weeks earlier that I built the presentation around. And I had some help from Damon Courtney, which was very, very good, and also from a T-Rex, which was unexpected.
Yes. Yeah, I was standing backstage taking some pictures, and a T-Rex just appeared next to me. I could hear a little fan whirring to keep it blown up, and cool, which was quite pleased because I happen to know the person inside it has a heart condition.
Yes, he does.
And so
that was funny. I've never had to deal with that before. But
no, it was very funny.
It was fun, and so yeah, I would say I'll probably give that same speech with a couple of updates for the our live show in March. So if people don't want to see that, don't want to have the joy spoiled, then probably don't watch the YouTube channel. But if you're not coming and you want to see me interrupted by a dinosaur and swearing on stage, which was fun, and my dad emailed me, said that it was very funny, Mark, but it would have been more funny if you hadn't sworn so much. And I was like, I didn't swear that much. I think I swore about twice. And one of those exclamations was after seeing a T-Rex on the side of the stage. So I think that was perfectly justifiable. Yes. But it was fun, though. I enjoyed it, and had some lovely comments from people afterwards, and people wanting selfies, which is always absolutely crazy.
I haven't been through the selfie. I tried to do it every time someone did a selfie with me. I tried to do one as well, so I captured it, and I shall post them into the group. I'll post some of our pictures and stuff from the trip into our Facebook group shortly, before this episode goes out for sure. But it was, I think, probably the highlight for us is the same highlight it was for every individual author, as Craig Martell, the organizer, brilliant organizer of the conference, said at the end, that the real value is in the networking, to give it want of a better phrase, just standing around meeting people who are doing the same as you, having a laugh with them, learning from them, and getting some nice comments from people, in my case, because people kind of know what I'm doing before I've even spoken to them, but also being able to encourage other people. And quite a lot of Brits there, so a lot of people made the trip in the same way that a lot of Americans are making the trip to our concerts. Let me turn that off. Our conference in March, a lot of Brits turned up, which was great.
Yes, and what else did we have? We had a nice a trip in a limo, to a stretch limo, to a restaurant on the Tuesday night where we had some nice steak with Mr. Anderley and some other people, and I had a burst of Tourette's in the back of the car. You
did. You C-bombed. Thank goodness your dad wasn't.
I know, goodness me, I'd have been disowned. I was sitting next to poor Kinga Janitic, and I may have dropped the C-bomb.
I think you called me the C-bomb.
I did. I don't know why. It was very unfair and undeserved. That was entertaining. And then we had our drinks on the Wednesday night, where we broke our record for a bar bill, I think, didn't we? Did we break our record?
Yes. Well, it's weird, as I'm fairly certain. I might have been quite drunk. Actually, I have the invoices here, so I might have been quite drunk. So I'm fairly certain we spent $3,000.
That's what you told me.
But Ricardo was there. I signed it several times. Ricardo was there. He said he's going to go halves. I signed several of these.
That's worrying. But
I can only find two of them, and actually I've looked at our credit card, and apparently we only spent $2,000.
Oh, happy days.
Either Samstown have made a mistake, which hopefully they don't watch this video, but nonetheless, we were happy to let it flow. And as I say, Reedsy.com, the place to go and find editorial and cover design services and all the rest of it, came in halves with us. They're going to be partners of ours, I think, as well, in March, which is great. And it's wonderful to be blessed by Spanish Jesus on these events.
I've seen some wonderful photographs. Spanish Jesus and Dan Wood from Drafted Digital went to the Grand Canyon after the conference. And there are some pictures of, he really has embraced the Spanish Jesus.
He has. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna send John Stone, our editor, the pictures of Spanish Jesus to put in, and also the pictures from the limo and some selfies from the event, so he can litter this YouTube
litter
version.
Is the appropriate choice of word, I think.
How dare you about Spanish Jesus? Jesus. Spanish Jesus.
Yes.
But yes, so I think that what I was going to say about the conference is that, if I could get back to a good point, hopefully, about the conference, is that you go to conferences to learn and do a little bit of networking, but there's something else going on with 20 books on that scale, and with us in March, which is a very... Why are you laughing at me? I'm trying to make a point.
Sorry.
A very public a very public display of a movement that's largely happening in the dark. Can I help you?
You can.
What have I said?
Sorry, I'm just coming off camera. What? Oh dear, sorry everyone. So when we went to the Win...
Oh, don't talk about that. Is that what you're laughing at? Don't talk about that. Oh, you want that picture to go up there? I can tell you now.
We have to mention it now. Sorry.
We have to mention it.
So
okay.
Let me. I'll.
Can I finish my point,
Yes,
and then
you
we'll
can.
mention that smut.
I'll try and.
Okay.
Yes.
So my point is that these conferences are a visible sign of a movement that's happening, individually in bedrooms and kitchens and front rooms across the world, and actually it's happening without people certainly without the industry really being aware and awake. And it was very interesting that Publisher Weekly were there, one of the long-running trade mags, and really important, I think, that they understand what is happening to publishing at the moment. Okay, so I've got that out of the way. We should say that when we went to the Win, which is a luxurious, we had one night, our last night, and we had it primarily because the rooms were like 300 quid instead of 1,000 for some reason.
$190 when I looked. We paid a bit more than that, but yes, we got a very good deal, and then found out that two of us were upgraded to the best suites. That'd be me and John. Young Tom was upgraded to like the middle suite, and poor James wasn't upgraded at all. But
I was in a suite, I should say. But I'm the one who chooses the hotels and books. They should understand that.
It was very unfortunate. But the funniest thing was, as we walked in, these were very well equipped hotel rooms. Yeah. And one of the things that James was able to take from the basically there's a sign as you go in saying if you take anything from the minibar or from the collection of goodies, if you take it for more than 30 seconds, your bill automatically billed. James picked up what was it called?
Well, it's called an intimacy kit. It was a masturbation kit. That's what it was. It was a masturbation kit for men, and I'll flash an image up of that as well, which I'll send to John. So it contained lubricant, something called a intimacy sleeve, I think, or something essential sleeve. It'll appear on the box on the screen now. I mean, I should say so. Tom was in the room at the time when we were laughing at this and took a picture of it and then put it back. And it was only later that I saw that 30-second sign, which I know to this moment you think I did deliberately, but I can tell you it's still there in the tray. And annoyingly, because I saw my invoice today, I paid for it. I was billed, and it wasn't cheap. It's like $39.
How did you explain that to Mrs. Blatch?
They very, very kindly put on the miscellaneous item. It says, which, in the words of Alan Partridge, is disconcertingly vague. But,
that was a real highlight. So yes, the sex sleeve.
Well, this is Vegas. I do apologise for people with a sensitive disposition, but this is Vegas, baby. And we had drinks with the wonderful Terry Tatchell and Lisa Zampano from Vancouver, who came to the Win and shared a couple of cocktails with us. And they told us in their hotel rooms at the Venetian were small devices.
Okay, that's enough.
Yeah, small devices for women.
Oh my goodness.
So that, which made me realise that at check-in they've worked out that some of these rooms are, you're put in a room that's equipped for a man. It's a sad thing though, isn't it? A masturbation kit.
It's quite sad. It reminds me very much of the Alan Partridge episode where he's a bit bored in the travel tavern and has to ring reception. And what does he say, James?
He says, "Susan, can you make pornography come on my TV, please?" And then he goes, "Oh, thank you." Yes.
Oh dear. So that's completely random diversion.
Well, I think we were
about it.
We were tired at this stage at the end of the week, and we did become a little hysterical about the things that
I don't know what my excuse is now.
No.
But then, of course, that we had some fun after that with on the tray of items, including the male intimacy kit, where things like jars of jelly beans and crisps and things, all of which had the same 30-second triggers. So I may have had some fun at John's expense by taking them all,
throwing them on the floor. And then leaving the room, and he had to scrabble around to get them back on there within 30 seconds. It's a bit of a game, wasn't it? Otherwise, it cost you. There's probably $1,000 on that tray.
It was a very expensive joke at our own expense, basically. Yes. We would have had to pay for Oh my goodness! So yeah, sorry everyone for a completely random diversion there, but it was
We'll
a
have
great
to put
conference.
the content warning up on this episode.
We will offend all kinds of people with our shenanigans.
But we had a last night. Of course, John and I arrived even earlier than you. We arrived 3 days earlier than you. We went to interview. I'm going to say Samuel Lee Jackson in Phoenix, who was brilliant. Who's somebody who started writing. I think he's now 68, 69, and he started writing about 4 years ago. So he calls himself the Colonel Sanders of publishing, and he's making money. He wants to make more, which is why, we spent half the time doing a quick interview and the other half of the time looking at his covers and blurb and he was trying to work out why he'd gone from a couple of thousand a month to $1,000 a month in income, and he wants to up that. But he's right in the center of everything now, doing brilliantly, writing great stories. And this is a guy who worked in industry in a job he hated, peddling. He's been peddling, I think, health insurance, or I can't remember exactly what it was, some service for most of his life.
Peddling.
Yeah, well, it was legitimate. It was legitimate, but that's what he was doing, and he hated it. And now suddenly in his 60s, he's found himself making money doing something he absolutely loves, writing these thrillers.
Yeah, amazing.
So that was Samuel. Sarah LaFontaine we met in Tucson, Arizona, where Jojo comes from. And she's also doing well, really well, actually. And took us to a nice Mexican restaurant. We interviewed her. And then we spoke to, got names now, somebody who's just starting out. He looks like Jesse from Breaking Bad and lived in Yuma, which is a new town for me. I've never been to before. Yuma, just on the border of Arizona and California. That's somebody who's currently a school teacher, actually about to relocate to Phoenix, but is starting to go places with his books. And again, half the time John and I find ourselves doing consultant where we need to bring you actually to do the consultancy. So what's wrong with this cover? What's wrong with this blurb? But that's what this whole week was about. It was about these conversations. And something else I'll say, I think also, I've been looking at the groups this morning, doing a few, answering a few queries here and there on Facebook, and you do see again how important your attitude is. So the 3 people we interviewed there were people receptive to making changes, who understood that the book was a product they had to be objective about and not treat emotionally. And yet I do see in our Facebook groups and in the 20 Books groups quite often people doing it wrong in that sense, and ending up making decisions that are not optimal to selling books. And then sometimes that becomes a circle of bitterness. Why is everyone else successful and I'm not? If people aren't prepared to realize that your cover might be exactly what you think it should be for your book, but it's not a cover that's going to sell the book. So there's and that's 20 Books. I think the people who made the effort to go to that conference were able to start soaking up that culture, that business culture you need to apply to your writing, which is very, very valuable.
Absolutely. Yes, I completely agree. And I know which cover you're talking about in our group, and I completely agree. But I haven't commented yet.
No. Yes. To be fair, I think the person is taking that on board. I actually think she's doing pretty good, but she's had some pretty brutal comments on that. But that's that's part and parcel of it. I'm afraid when you're in business, not everyone's going to sugarcoat it. Some of us will. Some people won't. The important thing.
Christopher Peterson didn't sugarcoat it.
No, he didn't. Christopher Peterson didn't. Are you giving his name away? You've never done that.
Oh, I haven't. That's true. I think it's kind of out now. It was.
Yes.
1,000 people in Vegas know his name.
Yes. Yeah. His book is bizarre in more ways than one.
Yes.
Right, one more thing before we get to the interview, which is to say that your profile premium, what's it called?
Course?
Trademark course, Mark Dawson's Advertising for Authors, is open and available for business. So you can go to selfpublishingformula.com/ads for authors, ads FOR authors. And you can read all about it, as they used to say at the newspaper stands in the UK. This is the course that's primarily built around Amazon ads and Facebook ads, but includes lots of other stuff as well, including how to write copy, how to, I think there's even some ad design stuff in there. But it's for people, should we say, we normally say you should have a book out, ideally probably 2 or 3 books out at this stage.
No, I think you can start it with one.
With one book.
Or we've had people start it with none. You can't learn this too early, really.
No, I'm going to be advertising, so
I
can tell you now. So one book. If it depends how serious you are about your career, but it's $749. So it's the most expensive course we do, but it's the most comprehensive and the most intensive from our point of view, keeping it all up to date. It's also available on a payment plan, we should say.
It is.
So I think you pay it over 12 months to make that a bit easier for you. So it's only open for a couple of weeks, but it's an ideal opportunity for you to have a look. And there's also a refund period of 30 days. All very user-friendly. Good. Okay, look, I think it's time to get onto our interview, because here's somebody who does not need instruction on how to treat the business side as a business, because her husband does a lot of it, and that is actually a really good, in its own way, a good culture to have, because it's a separate person who can not feel so emotionally tied to the book. They'll treat it as a product and think, how are we going to turn this into something that's going to sell? So this is Lucy and Tim Score. They live in Pennsylvania, actually live near Harrisburg. I'm trying to learn all the state capitals. And Harrisburg is a state capital of Pennsylvania, and she writes romance. She's brilliant. We've bumped into Lucy and Tim a few times, particularly at NINC. She goes to NINC every year. I'm a huge fan, as I say, and we talked to her about her writing and about how they market, how she's being so successful and making so much money, which is great. So let's hear from Lucy and Tim.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Okay, we are in leafy Pennsylvania with Lucy and Tim. We're going to talk about you, Lucy, your amazing writing career. We're going to talk to Tim a bit about supporting that, the marketing effort. And yeah, we love to hear about couples working together, because it's, well, frankly, it's a massive advantage, isn't it? You basically get a whole other full-time person
Agreed.
in the business. But to make it work, I think probably takes a few tips and tricks here and there. So I'll try and extract that from you, because I think making it work and not killing each other is a really important part of...
You gotta like each other.
Gotta like each other, and that's a good start. Okay, look, I'm going to start with you, Lucy, and we'll talk about who you are, your career to date. So if you can do that in the next 25 minutes, and I'll go make a cup of tea.
Okay. You already have your mug.
Yeah, I do have a mug. It's too rude to show on camera, unfortunately. So Lucy, when did it start for you?
I have always been a writer, but I was not doing it professionally, at least not in fiction. But I've always read romance, and that was where my heart was. Every time that I had a break to read, I was picking up a romance novel. But in my adult life, I went to school for journalism, and I did not like working for newspapers. So I kind of started fiddling around with little stories on the side and notebooks, nothing serious. And my brother told me, he's like, publishing's changing. You can publish yourself now. So he would feed me information about it, and I got more serious about wanting to see if I could actually write a book. And so I think I was laid off from a job with a newspaper for a few months, and I decided I was going to take that time and write a novella. And it took me like a year. A year to write maybe 25,000 words. I'm not sure. It was very short. Took a very long time.
Tell me about that year then, the 25,000 words. You're learning how to write a longer form story. Where are you taking any online courses or anything at this point to learn how to write?
Not really. I had taken a lot of creative writing classes in college, and I just assumed that I knew it all. I was like, I can do this.
But you found it quite difficult the first time.
I did. It was very hard for me to focus and commit, and I didn't have any contacts in the writing or publishing world, so I was all alone just trying to figure things out. And so I was working as a freelance author for some other publications, and so I was focusing on that, and then in my downtime I would pick up my little tiny novella, and I finally hit publish on it in 2014, I think. And sold 35 whole copies.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Did you know the 35 people who bought it?
Yeah. At least 30 of them I knew.
Yeah.
So I was shocked that I did not make it to number one on the charts. And I kind of just put it aside for a little while. But my brother was in a forum where these two other authors had started their publishing label, and they were talking about it a lot. So he posted in the forum, hey, my sister just wrote this novella. And a couple months later, I get contacted by one of those authors who said they read my novella and really liked it and wanted to know if I would be interested in turning it into a novel so they could republish it. I was like, oh, yes. And I was like, oh man, I don't have another year to turn 20,000 words into 50,000. So it took me probably another 7 or 8 months or so. And in what was that?
March
of 2015, the new version, Undercover Love, came out. It was a 50,000 word novel, and it did reasonably well. I didn't have anything to do with the publishing side, but I saw the royalties and I was like, okay, I can put myself on a 5-year plan, and if I can speed up my efficiency a little bit and get better at writing, I could release maybe 2 books a year. And in 5 years, if I save up, I can do this full time.
And let me ask about the genre a bit, because romance is wide genre and you get all flavors. So did you have an idea when you first wrote that first book of where you were going to pitch it on the scale?
Yes, I'm a big fan of contemporary romance, and that is the biggest genre in the world. So I wanted the biggest audience I could have, and that's what I enjoy reading. So just a natural fit for me.
And in terms of whether it's squeaky clean or full-blown erotica?
In the middle, explicit sex scenes. There's no closed door stuff, but it's not, there's a story. So. And
that was a decision from the beginning as well, that you'd pitch it there. Okay, so they published for you, this couple, 2 other authors who started their company, and you started to feel success. You made your 5-year plan, which involved what?
So at the time, I was working full-time for an accounting firm as a marketing director. So I had a decent salary, and I thought, okay, if I can start to put out 2 books a year, and save my salary, then I should be able to give this full-time author thing a shot. And so these accountants were a little on the conservative side, so I didn't tell them that I was writing romance in my spare time. But it did start to leak at work. Some of my coworkers found out, and secrets just don't keep in small companies. So
Right.
I felt guilty for hiding it. So I went to one of my bosses on a Monday and I confessed. I said, I just wanted to let you know I have this hobby on the side. My 2nd book is coming out this week. I just wanted you to know. And she's like, good for you. That's great. So that was a Monday. And then on a Wednesday, they called me into the conference room and fired me.
That's unbelievable.
They were shutting down my department, and they gave me until the end of the year to find a new job. And I was devastated. There goes my 5-year plan. Now I'm going to have to stop what I'm doing writing-wise and work on my resume, find a new job. This resets everything. So the very next day, my book came out and did astronomically well. It just shot up the charts. It hit #1 on Amazon in the Kindle store. And
in the whole Kindle store?
In the whole Kindle
Wow.
store, yeah. I didn't expect it, especially not after how the first novel did. So this was a big surprise. And I didn't have access to the sales numbers, so I didn't quite grasp how big #1 was. And I was still, in my mind, thinking, I got to get a job. I need to work on my resume. And we did a conference call with one of the publishers, and she was like, you need to quit your job now. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. I can't quit my job. I need to pay my bills. And she said, we'll give you an advance for what you've earned so far this month. And I was like, well, what's that going to be? And she named my entire annual salary. And I was like, I will quit tomorrow.
That's amazing. So do you remember what you did that first month? Are you happy to share that?
Sure. My cut, they were giving me an advance on the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, I forgot how that actually went.
They gave me, I had a $40,000 advance from them, and that wasn't even a month of royalty, of my cut of the royalties.
50% of the profit.
Mm-hmm.
Or so at that point you'd had $80,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we ended that first month with, because we were on a 50-50 royalty split, so I believe total it was $200,000 for the month.
Wow. With 2 books, but yeah, basically all down to 1 book.
Yes, because that book did so well. My first book ended up in the top 10 of Amazon also. So that was crazy.
What a great writer you must be.
I do feel like I am an excellent writer.
Yeah. Well, That's so cool. And then did you quit your job?
I did. I put my 2 weeks notice in, and
So
it
having
felt
them said to
awesome.
you, you've got to get out of here, and you
Yeah.
being all kind of, oh my God, are you doing this to me? You went in
Devastated,
a couple of weeks later and said, oh, by the way.
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Good luck with everything.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, who's going to do all the rest of the work for
Exactly.
I don't know.
The thing is, I don't care. So, yeah. How cool was that?
Yeah,
And
it was fantastic. It was really good. And the person who stepped into the position after me was really good at it. So we all won.
Yeah. Did they discover how incompetent you'd been up to that point? They said, oh, thank God she's gone.
Yeah, I think so. They were like, oh, wow. So this is what a real marketing director does.
So you quit. And then did you have, because I quit my full-time job in 2013, and I can still remember feeling anxious. You know, that's first year maybe. And literally the next day on the top double-decker bus in London, sitting there, not having a panic attack quite, but thinking, what have I done? Did you have that feeling?
Yes. Oh, I still sometimes get that feeling. It's just a sense of insecurity. You know, you're entirely dependent on something that you don't have control over.
Oh, that year, it was a lot of talking her down from what have I done? You know, I need a job. I can't do this. This isn't what people do. They don't quit their jobs and write books.
No.
So yeah, it was
Unless they're Nora Roberts.
Yeah, but actually they do now, which is,
They
and
do.
you're
Yes.
representative not of just, you know, one or two people, but quite a few people
Yeah.
now who have direct access to readers, and they can write and they can work from home, and it's amazing.
Never been a better time to be a writer.
Good phrase. We should use that. Yeah. Okay, and then Tim, what are you doing at this stage? You're presumably working. I know you've had a whole variety of jobs, including CIA informant and all that stuff. But
You're pixelating his face, right?
yes, of course. Yeah.
I think at that time I was
You're flipping
flipping houses.
I don't know what that means.
That means
It's quite difficult to lift a whole house.
yeah.
He's very
You buy a
strong.
house, usually cheap, and it needs a lot of work. You fix it up, and then you sell it.
Okay.
So yeah, I think at that time I was doing that, and
So you're sort of self-employed anyway.
yeah. I'd been self-employed for a couple years before that because I had rental units and then I also did some private investigating work and stuff like that. But so it was all self-employed stuff.
Okay. So we'll move things on a little bit with your story. You have still got your books published by this indie publishing company on a 50-50 deal. And at some point you start to get itchy fingers and want your hands on the numbers, which I think is understandable. But it was probably the right decision at the time for you to go with the publishing company. It sounds like it.
Yes, they had a much broader knowledge of publishing than we did at the time. And they did a great job. I did 5 books with them. But at that point, I wanted control.
Yeah.
She likes the control.
I wanted to pick the covers and the titles. I wanted to write the blurbs. I wanted to say in the advertising. So it was just a natural progression for us to branch out on our own. And I suggested to Tim one night, I said, what if you were my publisher?
Because I knew so much about it.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, it sounds like a natural progression from all
Yeah.
the things you've done.
yeah.
And it was very daunting, I think, to both of us at first because there's so much to learn about not just writing, but publishing and marketing and communicating with your readers. It's if you look at the big picture, it is terrifying and nobody would ever want to do it. So you just have to break it down by focus and start there.
So you got your copyrights back, or did they expire, or did you negotiate yourself out of that? Or?
We had 3-year deals with the publisher on all 5 books, and you did buy back the last two early.
Yeah. We just at the beginning of this year we got the last 3 back.
Okay.
So we have full control over all of.
So when was that? When did you say to the publishing company, "I'd like"?
2016, in the middle of 2016.
Okay.
So I had fulfilled my 3-book contract with them.
Yep.
And we met up with them at a conference, and we were just chit-chatting, and we told them that we were going to go out on our own, and they were like, good luck.
Yep.
Have fun. It'll be great.
Good. Well, they were like a little incubator, aren't they, for you? You know, got you started, and it was just great. So you then sat down and thought, right, this is easy, publishing. We'll do that just after breakfast, then we can go for a walk.
Yep.
Right.
Great. We'll do this from a beach in the Caribbean, no problem.
How did it work out? Yeah.
Our first year was pretty lean. I hadn't done anything with those first 5 books to, I call it making yourself sticky. So when a reader picks up your book, you want them to follow you everywhere. So I didn't really have a strong social media presence. I didn't have a newsletter. I didn't have a very good website. So there was nothing that would make a reader stick with me and be there waiting for the next book. So that was a big focus of ours after we realized we launched 2 books back to back because I write long and I thought it was going to be 1 book and it just kept going. So I ended up with a duet with a cliffhanger in the middle.
Okay.
That didn't go well.
And we should say the reason it doesn't always work is because it can annoy readers who've invested in a book. You get to the end and there's no denouement, there's no kind of ending.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's we should talk about it a little bit because obviously you do want readers to go on to the next book, and so there's a balance between it basically being a story that does wrap itself up but allows for progression.
Yes. Yeah.
And you learned that the hard way.
We did.
Yeah, because I think some readers are like, oh, you're just trying to sell me another book, so why didn't you just put this into 1 book? But it would have been over 200,000 page. It would have been really, really book, long. And so instead of writing that huge book, the natural thing was just to split it in 2.
So did you get your angry emails?
I didn't get much of any.
Yeah, it was just crickets.
Not that many people read the duet. I mean, we didn't have any background in advertising at the time. And I didn't have a huge newsletter list just waiting for me to tell them that there's a new book out. So that experience was really rough on me. He's always been confident that we could do this. He's always believed in me more than I've believed in myself. So he's like, we'll make this work. We're learning. And I was like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. So that was fun. But I started getting more confident about, okay, let's keep going. Let's press on, see how this goes. And we published a few more books.
And what practical stuff? Because obviously you must have realized at that point that you didn't really have the platform.
Yes. Yeah.
So what practical steps did you take? Maybe Tim, did you start driving this strategically?
Well, we definitely worked on our back matter and, got the website done nicely, and we, shored up your newsletter. And
so the back matter, you mean the stuff in the back of the book that leads
you to
the reader at their point where they're feeling closest to you as a writer, really, get to the end of the book, is here's how to get onto my list, or here's something.
Obviously, if they made it that far into your book, they didn't think it was total crap. So,
I think one of the best things I did was start a reader group on Facebook. It's Lucy Score Binge Readers Anonymous.
Little plug.
It's I don't know. I can't take credit for it. I started it, but I ended up with the best readers in the world in that group, and they have single-handedly carried my career forward from there.
I'm going to pause you on that because we are going to talk about your readers.
Okay.
And I hope they're all watching this.
I hope so too. This is Mr. Lucy, guys.
And at the point at which they want 1966 historical military fiction to read alongside the contemporary romance, jamesbatch.com is obviously the place to go, because there's a real crossover there, I feel. Anybody who's,
I think so.
It's man meets girl, then man gets in jet, man flies to Russia and bombs it. That's the most romantic.
Yes.
Stealing your readers. So I'm going to pause you on that because I do want to talk about it, because I know it's a big part of how things have developed for you, and it's great. So such an important thing to have the back matter correct, and this stuff doesn't necessarily come naturally. These are the little marketing guru tips that you pick up through, I guess, being online, talking to other people, going to conferences. Yeah. People wonder what the value sometimes is of getting on a plane and flying to Florida.
Yeah.
To hang out with other authors
in September
instead of writing, and there you come away from that with 25,000 new names on your list, and that your list. How important is your list to you in terms of your launch strategy and so on?
It is the most essential tool.
Oh, it launches you into the top
20,
sometimes top 10. Yeah,
it's really
you're pretty much guaranteed.
Unless I write a really bad book,
and the word gets out to all your readers before. But no, I mean her readers are great, and they just they're waiting there for that next Lucy book. So
it's time to talk about your readers. So this is obviously, you are clearly a very good writer, Lucy. I'm not just saying that, but the evidence is there. Your first book, when it got a little bit of visibility, did phenomenally well, and people become fiercely loyal to you. You've got this Facebook group. You've got people who travel to events. Tell us about a couple of these events you've been to.
Well, I've hardly done any because I think my time is best spent home in pajamas writing. But I did get invited to sign at Nora Roberts' bookstore in Boonesboro, and I was really nervous because she's my personal hero up there with Oprah. And she was going to be there signing as well. So I was very, very nervous, and I put it out there to my readers. Who is going to go to Boonesboro, Maryland in February? The coldest day of the year. I didn't have expectations, and they created a group on Facebook, called it LucyCon. They got T-shirts. They bought plane tickets. They came in. There were 40 some of my readers from my reader group that came in, and they came in the second wave of ticket holders, and the rest of the authors were like, "Who are you again?" It was like the most exciting experience, I think, as an author.
Overwhelming experience.
It was very overwhelming, and I'm sitting there 10 feet away from Nora Roberts, who's signing like crazy, and there's people coming up to me who are so excited to see me. They brought presents, and they were all wearing my T-shirts, and I don't know. I have goosebumps just thinking about it. It was just the most amazing thing, and some of the readers. Tammy organized a dinner afterwards, so there were 50 people having dinner together, just taking pictures. I mean, they met each other at the airport, they carpooled, they shared Airbnbs.
How lovely, though.
Yeah, most of these people never met each other face to face, other than on Facebook or in the reader groups, and it's. And
has that experience changed your writing a bit? When you sit down and write your next book, have you got a bit more pressure on you now?
I don't think so. When I write books, I'm really thinking about the kind of book that I want to read. Thankfully, I have, pretty common interests. But I do think I started naming characters after some readers, putting little Easter eggs in there just because, they made me feel really special, really important to them. And I want them to know how much I value them. So
that's great. And I've mentioned this before in the podcast, but it's a particular trait of the indie world that you do get to have that fun time with readers. And in the past, I think the relationships have been a little bit more standoff and formal, lines at a bookshop, just have your 5 seconds with, but not the kind of informal, social media's allowed that to happen and stuff.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I mean, it's a great time to be a writer, and it's an even better time to be a reader.
It's good. Yeah, marketing lines are flying out.
Write that down.
Yeah, we should do that. So, Tim, at this stage, this is now your full-time job?
Yeah.
The house flipping has ended?
House flipping has ended. Swinging a hammer is only a hobby now.
Yeah. And has it worked out in terms of dare I ask, your relationship? Because I know my wife has basically made it clear to me we're never working together. And I'd like her to do my accounts and stuff. Should not happening. There's the internet. You find an accountant and stuff.
Yeah, it's always been a concern of ours that we would get sick of each other and be like, "Go to work, get out of the house." But so far, no, we pretty much tolerate each other, and
I think it's
we haven't killed each other. And every morning, I get up and I do not dread. I work down the basement. That's where my office is, but.
Oh, you lock him in the basement, Jen?
Yeah, my dungeon down there.
Yeah.
Lair.
But the main thing is we are workaholics. We work all the time, so we actually have to set time aside to actually
pretend to be
do
normal.
a couple things and go out to dinner or vacation. A lot of vacations now are turning into work vacations, but so I don't know if that's going to bite us in the ass eventually or what, but.
Doesn't seem so.
We'll roll with it. I love that, work is very important to me. And I love that I can talk to Tim about it. And he gets it. If I get a horrible, scathing review, he's already upset on my behalf. Or if I wrote a really great scene that I'm excited about, he can't wait to hear it. He reads all my books.
So I imagine that's a real plus side, because I think in a lot of relationships, you can have a bad day at work, you come home, and you can, obviously, if you're a good partner, you're a good listener and stuff, but ultimately, you don't really understand it.
Yeah.
But if you're working together and you say, we've got a 1-star review and stuff, it hurts both of you in the same way. So that's a nice thing to share. Little team, Team Lucy.
Because just like every industry, there's drama. So what's today's drama? What's happening with Facebook or what's happening with Amazon or so we can vent to each other about it, and where nobody else that we know, at least close by, knows what we're going through. They don't know, I understand that must suck. That must suck that they're not doing this, or they're not allowing you to do this. So it's nice to be able to have it at home.
Commiserate.
And yeah.
It works well for you. And it's going to be different for different people. But,
Yeah,
I know people will be listening and watching this podcast who are moving towards the sort of full-time stage and thinking, and it does, if you've got the opportunity from a financial point of view, it makes massive sense. And actually, historically, it's how businesses used to run. The old days, your village store was run by the family.
The husband and wife and their
still
kids.
is too, in some cases, but mostly you go out and you have separate 9-to-5 jobs and stuff.
And I don't know how these, most of your writer friends, they do all of it themselves.
Yeah.
They do all the marketing, all the proofing, all the editing, all the cover designs, all the book work, all the, paying your taxes. And, and then their husband, well, usually their husband is, they have their own 9-to-5 job. So, but with this arrangement, I don't have a very good creative bone in my body. So, whatever, I can't write a book. So whatever I can do to lessen the load for her and let her write her books and, go on social media and correspond with the readers.
Yeah, Tim does more work than I do. I do the writing, the social media, and whatever advertising writing, but he does everything. He formats the books. He works with the cover designer. He works with the audio book production. He does all our taxes. Thank you for the paycheck. He's busier than I am. But I don't know how people do it themselves. It's crazy.
I think they just work harder than you two.
I think so.
Well,
I think they do. Yeah, they don't.
I can almost guarantee that.
They don't have as many happy hours.
At 9 o'clock in the morning.
It's noon now, guys.
It's Saturday. There was a moment today we were faffing about with the cameras. There's always a lot of faff, and you were on your knees on the ground writing.
Yeah.
And I can see that it is something you struggle to move yourself away from, getting that.
Yeah, especially when writing's going well, I am angry about any interruption. If it's going well, I don't want to stop until that dries up. So having regular person obligations just drives me crazy sometimes. It's a good thing we don't have kids.
It's tough if we have like a scheduled like beach vacation or something tropical, and she's like, but I have words to write. Yeah. So I'm like, no, you got to put it down and just. And
you mentioned you don't have kids. So I know some people listening to this will think, how do they do that with kids? But that would make a dynamic, make it more difficult. And I'm just thinking about people trying to think, will this work for me? It will be different for different couples.
Yeah, I mean, really, being an author is about finding the aspects of the career that fit you best. Yeah. So if you're releasing one book a year, that's what you focus on, and you do it as well as you possibly can. If you have a really convenient situation like I have, take advantage of it. Shovel some of those responsibilities off to a team member and focus on what you need to focus on.
And bring us up to date. How many books have you got out there now, and how's it going?
I have 20 books are published now. 21 is in the hopper for September release. And I'm writing the next one. That'll be my 4th book this year. So I cut back from I think I was doing 6 books a year at my max.
6 or 5. Yeah.
So now I'm down to 4, which is a lot more comfortable for me. Financially, it's going great. We hit just over $750,000 last year.
Fantastic.
And we already beat that this year. So
fantastic.
I know, it's crazy. I get to work my dream job, and it's
no more house flipping for you, Tim. You're sitting in this beautiful house in the Pennsylvanian countryside, living the lives of writers in your shorts during the day. I mean, that is the dream, right? It
is. It's crazy. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. I don't want people to think. I hear a lot of writers talk about how easy writing is. Oh, I sneezed out a book. Yeah. What's your problem?
Oh, there has been times I had to talk her off the cliff,
But just because it's hard, it doesn't mean that you're not good at it. Right. It doesn't mean that there's no room for a career. That if it's not hard, you might be missing out on something.
Yeah, that's Kennedy-esque. The reason we choose to do these things is because they are hard. Okay, so your marketing platform you built has obviously made the difference and led. But you had that first year where there was a drop down when you inherited the books, built the platform, and the results you've just talked about have been clear to see. What were the key moments of your marketing development?
Well, I think one of the things that we really hit on, when I came into this, everybody was saying you need to write series. You have to write a series. When you get to number 5 in a series, you'll have 3 books from that series on a list. That didn't happen for me. So what we discovered is my standalones are a really, really great way to pull new readers in. So, you're not pulling new readers into you with number 6 in a series. So we put out a standalone, and that's when we started to see the tide turning. We saw significantly more sales. And it was that was Mr. Fixer-Upper.
Yeah.
And right about that time, I believe we signed up for the Ads for Authors course. And
I think it was before that.
Okay. So we were focusing on building the newsletter list at that time. This year, 2019, our focus is advertising. So we kind of dusted the course back off, ran back through it, and we just really started paying attention to every single detail of an ad, especially on the Facebook platform. So the copy, the headline, the image, and I think we really hit our stride with it. And it really came in handy with launching the standalones because we're hitting this much bigger audience. We're pulling people in, and then we're funneling them right into a series. So we're starting to, we're going to be focusing on advertising a backlist. The series that I'm wrapping up now, I co-wrote with Claire Kingsley. Hey, Claire. It's Bootleg Springs. It's a 6-book small town rom-com series with a mystery. And number 6 is her book. It's coming out at the end of this month. So once that's done, we're actually going to be hitting it, advertising the whole entire series from 2 different sides. So we're really excited to see how that pans out. I think the marketing has just given it the staying power.
And it really levels off the peaks and the valleys.
Yeah.
You always have that huge peak when you launch a book, and then it just dies down.
Yeah.
But also it helps that your backlist is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So you can start, the troughs can be not quite as deep with advertising. So you can advertise your backlist and really keep new readers coming into the fold.
How important would you say paid ads are in your career now?
Right now, very, yeah. We didn't do a whole lot before this year. We were doing well. You can absolutely do well without spending a ton in advertising.
If you write brilliant books.
If you write brilliant books.
That's half the battle. Then you have to let people know that you write brilliant books.
So Mark's view is increasingly it's getting to the point where paid advertising is becoming a necessity from a luxury. But I guess you may say, because you had such a fantastic year last year without too much, be interesting in a couple of years' time whether you think, would we ever not advertise again?
Right. Well, and the market's different now than it was even last year. So there's a lot of competition. So visibility, marketing will buy you visibility.
Yeah.
And so you can have your readers working the organic stuff on this side, but the advertising is kind of almost a guarantee of a slower dip in sales, which is really helpful.
The big issue we had earlier on when we started advertising, we didn't stick with it. We threw a couple ads up, they didn't work. And we're like,
that's it.
And it is hard to spend a lot of money on ads when you're not making a lot of money.
Sure.
So if you throw up some ads for $20 and they didn't work, and try a couple different ads, they didn't work. Well, you have to try to streamline it and make sure, this copy is working and this photo is working. So you try all different variations. Eventually you'll find something that really clicks with the readers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like everything. It does take a bit of effort, particularly the Facebook platform, when there are a lot more variables involved in the decision making. And I'd be remiss of me not to mention Ads for Authors, which you talked about as being part of it. So Mark will chastise me if I didn't say, I think she did mention Ads for Authors, Jane. So, and that you bought, I can't remember when you bought it, but it changed a lot. So the time you dusted it down this year, quite a lot of the platforms have changed and stuff. You had to perhaps relearn that. It worked out for you?
Yeah, it's really nice that you always have access to it, so you get all of the updates, because everything is changing, and it's changing very, very quickly.
And there's so much stuff on there that we haven't even utilized yet. There's
BookBub ads.
Yeah. Well, we've done them. Okay. We don't do them very well yet.
They don't
So and we haven't even looked at them on the Facebook ads or on the
course.
ads for authors. Yeah. So I mean, it's on the list.
Yeah.
There's always stuff on the list.
Just Amazon ads you're running?
Amazon ads.
We do very little with AMS right now, just because they're very volatile. Like,
yeah.
So it's not a consistent return.
Now, yeah, it's hard to see the metrics of it.
Yeah, most of our budget goes into Facebook.
Yeah.
For now, but I'm sure it'll be different by next year.
Everything will be different by next year.
Yeah.
Guaranteed, yeah.
That's the way it rolls. Look, I want to say thank you so much indeed for inviting us into your home. And you're workaholics, but we got you out last night.
That's right.
And you took us to a really cool rooftop bar.
We had beer.
Here and wherever we are. Where are we? Pennsylvania.
Near Harrisburg.
If you're in a certain part of America, you're in Pennsylvania because it goes on forever.
It's large.
And any city you can.
Large. Texas is the same way.
That's a little bit larger.
Half of Texas, no one lives in. So.
Right.
No, it's a beautiful house. We're so excited and so pleased with your progress. We bumped into each other for probably 3 years now. I think at Nink and last couple of years there and here. And Mark and I are always thrilled to hear these stories, and it's uplifting. So thank you, and we will keep in touch. We want to hear what happens in the future.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is the Self-Publishing Show. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
There you go, Lucy and Tim. Brilliant. You've met Lucy and Tim, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I met Lucy in a swimming pool at Nathan Van Koop's pizza party with Bo. Bo, yes. You say Bo,
Boo.
I say Boo.
Was it Boo?
It's Boo, I think, yes.
Boo.
Yeah, that was great fun. Lovely to meet her. She is very smart, and I've picked up some new tactics from her that I'm going to be testing out quite soon. So,
you have? You've picked up tactics from her?
I have, yeah. She's doing the epilogue as the giveaway at the end of the book. That's where I first heard about that. So we're going to be trying that quite soon as a reader magnet rather than a novella or a novel. I think it could work quite well.
That was another thread that went slightly wrong in the group with somebody arguing that you can't cheat. Yeah. You can't cheat your readers, but that's not really what's going on here.
She didn't really get it.
No, so yes, and I haven't got them printed here, but I've done my crash reports, which I'm really pleased with the way they look to go at the back of my of my book.
Very good.
They look. That's really based on your profile report from MI6, but these. And I went down to National Archive and got them to photograph some original ones to make it look cool. And you can get old typewriter fonts very easily. So all this stuff is doable. Now, I should say the person we met in Yuma, whose name I briefly forgot, was Peter F. Smith. I shouldn't forget because he's kind of based his name on Peter F. Hamilton, who's an author local to me, he's a fantastic sci-fi author. And Peter's having great fun writing some sci-fi books and trying to make his way as a self-published author. And you, in your instruction, are helping him greatly at the moment. Right, I think that's it. One final link I will give out is the link to the waitlist for our live event in March. So I know people who missed out getting a ticket the first time would like to know if tickets become available. So you can go to selfpublishingformula.com/SPS live waitlist. SPS live waitlist, all one word. Get your name down there. We are getting, in fact, not a lot so far, but I think we've had 3 people email us and say that they're not going to come, and their tickets will go back into circulation. We won't do the resale until probably February, closer to the actual time, but get your name on that list. We've also held back, at the moment, we probably have about 20 or so spaces that aren't allocated and will probably go out for sale last thing as well. So there is a chance still to come if you want to do that. Right, Mark Dawson, over your fit of giggles.
Sorry about that. It's Mr. Sex Sleeve.
Sex sleeve. Yes, that's what it was called. It's called a sensual sleeve. So it goes.
Oh dear! Don't look at YouTube now.
People on YouTube. I couldn't get it over my hand. That was the problem. Onto the sleeve.
Oh, the fun we had.
The long night flew by. We went to see the Beatles, didn't we? We went to see the Cirque du Soleil Beatles Love Show, which was superb.
We did. We bought 4 beers for about $65.
Yeah, I saw that.
They were very big. They were very big beers, which we didn't finish. But yes, it was very fun. And then I
can't drink those beers because they're full of wheat. Blue Moon.
Oh yes, that's right.
Was there a choice?
Yes, I got the one that you were intolerant.
Brilliant. Thanks for that.
Aim to please.
Yeah, good. I've also come back with the post-Vegas cold, which John Dyer has as well.
I
You
don't.
somehow escaped. Considering how many colds you have, I'm amazed. You probably had this one.
I probably have, yeah. And I also had, I did get some sleep on the plane, so I didn't even have that much jet lag. So I was quite worried about coming back is hard, but this time has been reasonably easy. So I'm pretty much back in the swing of things now.
Excellent. Okay, right. Look, that's it for this week. We have a couple of good interviews coming up, including, I haven't scheduled it yet, but in the next couple of weeks, I think we will have that interview with the female billionaires, which is Lucy Score's second appearance on the show, but it's really worth watching. It's a great motivational interview. Oh, and also I should say, we did a fantastic couple of interviews in Vegas themselves, including with Patrick O'Donnell, who's a cop. And Patrick's just come. He's got 2 months left. I think 2 months and 2 days or something he said left, which sounds like the ominous beginning of a novel, doesn't it? But
God, yeah, just one more assignment.
But this is somebody who's been in uniform on the streets in a city with shots fired every day of his career and murders every other day, and a really, really good, insightful interview about the reality of being a policeman on the streets. So I think it's going to be very useful for people writing in a lot of different genres, even romance. Getting cops right is important. So it's a really compelling interview as well. We are very privileged to listen to Patrick's career. Good writer as well. Okay, that is it. I think we can say goodbye. So just to remind people, patreon.com/self-publishing show. Should you wish to help our show along, we'd be very grateful. But until next week.
These sex thieves don't by themselves.
They don't. They're $39 plus tax.
Yeah. So
unfortunately, someone else is still there in the tray. I was so annoyed that I didn't pick it up because I kind of knew I probably had bought it at that point because Tom and I laughed at it for quite a long time, clearly longer than 30 seconds.
Indeed. Yes. Anyway, let's draw a veil over that sordid episode.
Yes.
So I'll say it's goodbye from me,
and it's a goodbye from him. Goodbye.
Get show notes, the podcast archive, and free resources to boost your writing career at selfpublishingshow.com. Join our thriving Facebook group at selfpublishingshow.com/Facebook. Support the show at patreon.com/self-publishing show. And join us next week for more help and inspiration so that you can make your mark as a successful indie author. Publishing is changing, so get your words into the world and join the revolution with the Self-Publishing Show.